Today on the Pipeline Vlog, the 4 reasons I like to write reviews. That's right, baby. It's a listicle. I've been thinking a lot lately about why it is I write reviews, and I've written a lot of them over the last 20 years, and I'm not sure how many of these 4 reasons are the reasons why I write them, or they're just happy little side accidents, but either way, I thought I'd go through them and just talk out how I'm feeling about these things these days and make a vlog out of it. Number 1, it forces me to read more comics. I have to have material for the column. I have to have material for the website. I've always got to be reading something. I don't think there's been more than once in the past 10 years that I've gone a week without reading a comic book, because there's always something that needs to be filled. There's always a column that needs to be filled. There's always a web page that needs to be filled, all that kind of stuff. So I have to keep reading. There's no way around it. And part of that is that I like to read new and different stuff. I don't want to just repeat myself. I've seen in the past certain patterns of, when a book would maybe get hot and I'd review it month after month after month, or maybe just too many months out of the year and needed to find something else to write about. And honestly, when you're writing about stuff, ongoing series are about the worst thing to write about. As any creator will tell you, Volume 1 is really easy to write about. Volume 2, nobody talks about anymore because they think it's just more of the same. And it's something I've been trying to correct for a little bit. I've failed for the most part in the last year, but it's something I definitely have been keeping in mind and hope to do more of in the future. I started doing a second volume project about a year ago or so. That was in the waning days of Pipeline at CBR, and then in the course of moving to a new website, that kind of got left behind a little bit. But with the European comics this year, I've reviewed a few second volumes and past that, so maybe we'll be doing more of those in the months and years ahead, we can only hope. Number 2 reason. Number 2. I'll probably put a little image up here with a 2 on it, but 2. Sorry to my British viewers. I didn't mean to just curse you off. Deep reads. When I'm in the middle of writing a review, I find myself reading a book more than once. And as part of that, I figure out more about it. I don't know, maybe I'm alone on this, but when I read a comic book for the first time, I tend to sort of breeze through it a little bit. I don't think about it too much. I enjoy it mostly on the surface. Some books are deep enough that you can tell there's more to talk about or more to read into it as you read, and that'll slow me down. But for the most part, I tend to breeze through a book the first time, and then when I start writing about it, just the act of writing makes me think about it, and just the act of writing makes me come up with new angles on the book. And to write more about that, I have to reread the book, or I have to reread certain scenes, or I have to hunt for certain bits of dialogue, cause and effect, that kind of stuff, to see if what I'm thinking, my argument, has actual supporting panels or supporting bits of business in the comic that I can read about. So in the end, like I just wrote a Valerian review, which as I'm recording this will go live tomorrow. I must have read that book 3 or 4 times by the time it was done. That's was a 50, 60 page book or so. It's a lot of reading. But it's worth it because I know more about the book and how the plot worked around and what the creators were doing with it. And I think it's interesting to do that. And it helped me also to sort of straighten out in my head a little bit about what was going on with the plot, which I didn't exactly get the first time. Again, reading on the surface level, I was a little confused between a couple characters, and then getting a chance to read it a second time and paying a little more careful attention, especially knowing what's coming, I was able to reconstruct what the writer was going for. So that was good. Deep reads are the number 2 reason. Number 3 reason, I get to talk about it. There are people out there who read comic books who don't have friends who read comic books, and they are horribly lonely. There's nothing worse than absorbing all this pop culture, all this media, and not having anyone to talk about it with. It's not how we as human beings function. I mean, that's why you have the water cooler at work. For years, I remember on, Monday mornings, everyone would be at the water cooler at work talking about, did you see Sopranos last night, for example? Or, when I was a kid, I remember seeing an art class in that must have been like 5th grade saying, hey, did you see Alf last night? All these shows, movies, stuff we watch, they're just the beginning of conversations. And if you don't have that conversation, a lot of times it could be a little frustrating. So for me, I originally had letters columns. It's the reason why I wrote the letters columns. Part of it was the thrill of the chase, of the hunt, of being published. But also part of it was getting my thoughts out there and expressing them in some way and writing them down and having a reason to do all that. So now, instead of the letters columns, I have Pipeline, and I have a website, and I write for another website. So it all functions in a good way just to get that stuff out of your system, and that's a really good reason to write reviews. Number 4, and perhaps the most important in some ways, it's spreading the word. There are a lot of great comic books out there that people don't know about, or that people just aren't reading, or maybe people are reading and they don't know why they like it so much. I just like the idea that I have a little bit of a bully pulpit here, not a big one anymore, to tell you the truth. When I was at CBR, it was much bigger. But I have an audience there that will listen to what I say, who have followed me from place to place, who understand what it is I like and how they interface with my opinions and where we agree and where we disagree. And maybe they'll give a book a shot based on a review I write, and I love that. There is nothing better than getting an email from someone saying they picked up a book based on my recommendation and they really liked it. That's what I do this whole thing for. So the ability to talk directly to people and to convince them, if not to agree with me, to at least give a book a chance that they might not have otherwise thought about, because let's face it, a lot of comic books come out every week. Too many to read them all. And so we all rely to one degree or another on not sort of the gatekeepers, not even the conventional wisdom, but we all look to see what other people who we like or agree with are reading. And that sometimes will, coerce us to one way or the other, read a book or not read a book. And I think that's just important. Word of mouth is huge, not only in comic book collecting and comic book reading, but everything else in life, especially in these social networking days. So spreading the good word, which sounds like a religious thing. Comics are for religion for many of us. That is the 4th reason I can think of for continuing to write these reviews. If you want to read more of them, go to pipelinecomics.com and check me out on all the various social media you'll see in the closing card to this vlog episode. Thanks for watching. I'm Augie DeBleek.